Two men, one mat, one night in the hallowed halls of Madison Square Garden that didn't just crown a new champion. It shattered the very foundation of American karate, exposed the fatal crack in brute force, and ignited a tactical revolution that echoes through every dojo, every tournament, every fighter's soul to this day. But when the final point landed like a guillotine, the undefeated golden boy stood stripped of his aura. The quiet technician rose as the architect of a new era, and the entire martial arts world reeled in stunned silence. This is the moment tradition died screaming. Tonight, on Tales of the Famous, we transport you to the electric blue mats of June 24th, 1967. You'll feel the sweat sting your eyes like acid, hear the bone-jarring crack of shin on forearm reverberate off the garden's rafters, smell the thick cocktail of liniment, fear, and destiny hanging in the air like incense in a war temple. We'll walk every heartbeat, every feint, every savage exchange of Chuck Norris's earth-shaking upset over Joe Louis. Raw power versus surgical precision, blind aggression versus adaptive genius, the old guard versus the unstoppable future. Stay until the final, paradigm-shattering revelation. Because this wasn't just a fight. It was the death knell of tradition, the birth cry of modern karate, and the proof that a single calculated strike can topple empires built on muscle alone. The year is 1967. America is a nation on fire. Vietnam bleeds on the evening news. Civil rights marchers face down dogs and hoses. Hippies chant peace while cities burn. And in living rooms from coast to coast, a strange new obsession flickers across black and white screens. Men in crisp white GI, bowing with solemn grace, then exploding into controlled violence that leaves jaws on the floor. Karate, once whispered about in dimly lit military bases, back alley dojos, and obscure corners of Okinawa, has detonated into the cultural mainstream like a cultural atomic bomb. Hollywood can't produce scripts fast enough. Returning GIs bring stories of barefoot masters who could disarm soldiers with a flick of the wrist. Philosophers quote Zen koans between drags on cigarettes. But the crowds packing smoky gymnasiums and newly built community centers, they don't come for enlightenment or inner peace. They come for blood, sweat, and the sweet science of controlled destruction. The tournament circuit explodes overnight. No more polite katas performed under paper lanterns and cherry blossoms. This is American karate, raw, aggressive, point-sparring chaos where reputations are forged in the furnace of real contact and broken in the span of a single miscalculated step. Points aren't awarded for aesthetic beauty. They're stolen with fists that leave bruises blooming like violent purple orchids, with kicks that whistle through air like switchblades. Enter Joe Louis. 6 feet of marine-honed, battle-forged muscle. 195 pounds of coiled annihilation wrapped in a GI that strains at the seams. The man doesn't walk into a ring. He invades it like a panzer division rolling across enemy lines. Trained in the unforgiving dojos of Okinawa under masters who'd make lesser men weep blood, Louis returns to the States with one burning mission: absolute domination. His style? A blitzkrieg of low kicks that cripple mobility, sledgehammer punches that close distance faster than the eye can track, and an overwhelming forward pressure that turns opponents into cornered animals. He wins the 1966 U.S. Nationals in a performance so brutal it's still whispered about in hushed tones. Then every regional title within driving distance. Undefeated. Untouchable. The golden boy asterisk, swagger in his every step. A predator's smirk curling his lips, raw fear reflected in his opponent's widened eyes. To the karate world, Louis isn't just the best fighter walking the planet. He is the future incarnate, the embodiment of American martial arts confidence distilled into human form. Then, lurking in the shadows like a patient assassin, there's Chuck Norris. Quiet, methodical, a technician who treats every fight like a chess grandmaster playing at 100 miles per hour while the board is on fire. Stationed in South Korea with the U.S. Air Force, he falls hopelessly, obsessively in love with Tang Soo Do, a Korean martial art built on razor-sharp timing, devastating counters, and a philosophy that every strike must be earned through preparation, not gifted by size. Norris earns black belts like others collect parking tickets. Tang Soo Do, Shido Ryu, Taekwondo, each one another weapon in an arsenal honed to surgical perfection. He opens schools across California, quiet dojos where discipline is currency and ego is checked at the door. Celebrities wander in between film shoots. Steve McQueen, drops by in sunglasses and a leather jacket. Bob Barker trades game show smiles for sweat. But Norris isn't here for fame. He doesn't predict knockouts in press conferences. He doesn't need to. He studies. He replays grainy tournament footage on loop until the tapes were thin and the images burn into his retinas. He practices one kick 10,000 times until it becomes less a technique and more an extension of his nervous system. He wins regionals with the calm efficiency of a surgeon removing a tumor. Then the Tournament of Champions, 7 fights, 7 victories, 0 drama, 0 wasted motion. The karate world takes notice. Whispers begin, but few, very few, believe he's ready to stand in the same ring as Joe Louis without being dismantled piece by piece. June 24th, 1967. Madison Square Garden, the undisputed mecca of combat sports, birthplace of Ollie Frazier legend, cathedral to Nick's glory, stage for Sinatra under a spotlight halo. Now hosts the All-American Karate Championship, Grandmaster S. Henry Cho's audacious brainchild. Hundreds of the nation's fiercest fighters. Thousands of fans packed shoulder to shoulder, the air crackling with destiny and the faint metallic tang of anticipation. The bracket unfolds like a horror movie scripted for Lewis's opponents. He dismantles them with blitzes that leave judges scrambling to award points before the echo dies. Low kick to the thigh, opponent limps. Body shot that folds a man in half, point star. Another fighter down, staring at the ceiling wondering what planet he's on. The crowd roars, this is why we came. This is the golden boy in his element. On the opposite side of the bracket, Norris moves like a ghost in a storm. Lateral steps that defy prediction. Feints that draw attacks in empty air. Counters that land a millisecond before impact, clean as a scalpel slice. No wasted motion. No ego. Just efficiency incarnate. He conserves energy like a sniper conserving ammunition. He waits. He knows. The final. The mats are cleared with the solemnity of an execution ground. The judges lean forward, pencils poised like loaded weapons. The crowd hushes. A silence so thick you can hear heartbeats hammering against rib cages, the faint rustle of GI fabric, the collective inhale of history holding its breath. Louis charges. A freight train in human form, eyes locked on destruction. His lead leg snaps out, a low kick to the outer thigh that lands with a sound like a baseball bat meeting oak, crack star. The impact echoes off the garden's legendary rafters, a gunshot in a cathedral. Norris absorbs the shock, plants his pivot foot, and answers with a ridge hand that slices through the air like a samurai blade and tags Louis mid-stride, freezing an inch from the temple. Point, Norris. The tone is set. Louis snarls. This isn't in the script star. His nostrils flare. He presses harder, forward pressure like a tidal wave. A hook kick whistles past Norris's ear, close enough to ruffle hair. Norris slips inside the arc chambers and fires a back fist to the temple. Snap. Clean, controlled, undeniable. Point, Norris. The fight turns savage. Louis lands a body shot that lifts Norris off his feet, drives the air from his lungs in a whoosh that silences half the arena. The crowd gasps in unison. There it is, the power star. But Norris doesn't flinch. He reads. He sees the micro-twitch in Louis's shoulder, the weight shift a fraction too early. Louis lunges again, overcommit, guard riding high. Norris parries with textbook precision, spins inside the pocket, and unleashes a front leg roundhouse that freezes an inch from Louis's floating rib. Controlled violence, perfect score. Point, Norris. Frustration boils in Lewis's eyes like molten steel. He's hitting harder. *2 card. Judges issue warnings, voices sharp. Norris smiles. **, he's in Lewis's head now, renting space for free **. Another exchange. Lewis throws a combination that could end wars. Jab, cross, low kick, hook. Norris interrupts mid-punch, countering with a hook kick that stops at the jawline. The follow-through frozen in perfect form. Point. Norris. The final 30 seconds. Lewis, desperation creeping into his movements like poison, lunges in a last-ditch blitz, aiming to blast Norris clean off the mat and into the front row. Norris parries with his lead hand, pivots on the ball of his foot, and fires a lightning-fast punch to the solar plexus followed by a hook kick that freezes at contact. Perfect control, perfect timing, perfect score. The bell rings. The announcer's voice booms through the Garden's hallowed speakers. Winner by unanimous decision. Chuck Norris. The arena detonates. Lewis stands frozen in the center of the mat, the undefeated king, dethroned by a technician who never raised his voice, never predicted victory, never needed to. Norris bows, calm as a monk in meditation, sweat tracing slow rivers down a face carved from discipline. The upset isn't just a win. It's a declaration of war on the old ways. The fallout is immediate and seismic. Dojos across America scramble like ants after a flood. Instructors tear up decades-old lesson plans, burn them in trash cans behind strip mall studios. Power alone is dead. Long live strategy. Students drill footwork until soles blister, practice timing until counters become reflex, study angles like geometry, students cramming for finals. Sparring evolves from brawls into strategic warfare. Feints, traps, psychological chess played at full speed. Tournaments rewrite rulebooks to reward control and precision, not just impact force. Joe Louis? The Golden Boy doesn't fade into obscurity. He evolves. He pioneers full-contact kickboxing, steps into rings where points don't exist and knockouts are the only currency. In 1983, Karate Illustrated crowns him the greatest karate fighter of all time, a title earned not despite the loss, but because of it. He knows. Norris cracked the code, and Lewis used the fracture to build something stronger. Chuck Norris? His legend explodes like a supernova. Schools multiply across California. Then the nation, quiet dojos where discipline is currency and ego is checked at the door. Hollywood comes knocking. Steve McQueen drags him to film sets between karate classes, introduces him to directors who see dollar signs and spinning kicks. By the early 70s, Norris is on the silver screen, bringing karate to the masses in films that pack theaters and spawn imitators. But his greatest legacy isn't fame. It's proving the mind beats muscle, that preparation trumps pedigree, that a single calculated strike can topple empires built on raw power alone. Over 50 years later, every competitive karateka, every point fighter, every kickboxer, every MMA pioneer owes a blood debt to that night in the Garden. The fight that killed blind tradition. The upset that birthed modern martial arts as we know it. The moment when strategy slayed strength and rewrote the DNA of combat sports forever. So tell me in the comments, did Norris versus Lewis birth today's karate? Or was it just one perfect upset in a sea of chaos? Name another fight that flipped the script on history. ***. Like if strategy slays strength every single time. Share with the fighter in your life who needs to hear that timing trumps power, that brains beat brawn. Subscribe and hit the bell to never miss a war that rewrote the rules of glory. This is Tales of the Famous. The mat is cleared. The legacy lives forever.